God has always put good people in my path. Everything happens for the purpose.
My name is Michael Pertnoy. I'm the co-director and producer of The Last Survivor.
It started with the negation of the Holocaust. People started to say it never existed. So when I heard it the first time, I laughed. When I heard it the second time, I understood there is no place to laugh. And when I heard it the third time, I realized that I have to do something about it.
It's a documentary feature about the lives of survivors of different genocides and mass atrocities. We're focused on the life of a Holocaust survivor named Hedi Fried, a young Rwandan girl named Jacqueline Merakatete, a young man from Darfur, Sudan named Adam Bashir, and a young Congolese refugee named Justin Semahoro Kiminyerwa. And the film focuses on how they've been able to rebuild their lives, what they're doing now, and how they're working in their communities as positive change agents. Back in 2008, September 2008, we traveled to Israel to meet what we had come to know as this fleeting community of Darfur refugees who had left Sudan. They were pushed out of their homes, their villages were attacked and burned. They went to Egypt where they were put into human trade and human trafficking. Some of them were being killed and tortured, and they came across the border into Israel where they were put into prisons, and they were held there until they were actually able to be registered and identified, and that's how we met them. We went to Tel Aviv on a fact-finding mission, and we wanted to learn about what was going on. And myself and my co-director, Michael Kleiman, we spent a lot of our time learning about the Holocaust in Rwanda and hearing about what was going on in the world. But for us, emotionally, we weren't really prepared for what we were about to encounter in Israel. And we walked into this homeless shelter and we met for the first time a couple hundred refugees who were homeless, who didn't have anything, they didn't know where their families were, most of them couldn't speak the language. And for us, it was just this moment where we realized that what we were doing is really, really important. We left that day reaffirmed in the story we were telling, reaffirmed in our commitment, because for so long we'd spent all this time thinking about all these things that were happening in the past, and there we were, and for the first time we were struck by what was happening right now in the present. People whose lives were in the process of being affected, people who still didn't have closure to these horrible atrocities. And for Michael and I think that's when we began to realize that what we were doing wasn't just historical, wasn't just biographical. It was something that was active, it was something that was important and pressing in the world. And for us, that's when the journey really began to take shape, and we started on this journey to really inspire people to get involved in a movement to end genocide. The film was shot on 2 different cameras. We had the great pleasure of working with 2 incredibly talented DPs. Kevin Lane, both of them from Miami. Kevin Lane, who shot with an HDX900, a Panasonic, and Julian Diaz, who shot with the HVX200. And we were the smallest run-of-the-gun, run-and-gun team. 2, 3, 4 people tops at a time. Most times we monitored our own sound, and I think that really helped provide the intimate nature of the film we really looked for. Oftentimes Mike and I were on the set by ourselves, shooting and interviewing characters as we needed to. When we moved into post, we edited the whole thing in Final Cut Pro. Myself and Michael were the editors, and we put it together in our own little studio. And we had the great fortune of being able to color correct and do some final sound mix at a nice post-production facility in New York and in Toronto called Deluxe. And we delivered it here on HD cam, and actually we delivered in digital. This whole festival's gone digital this year. So everything's going digital this year, which very scary for a film director to be putting this film out in a digital world, but thankfully we've been able to master in 1080p and in a 4:4:4 color space, and it just looks awesome. It's great to be able to provide audiences with an HD quality product. So it's better than tape. It's actually less nerve-wracking than playing on a tape or a DVD. We know it's going to get there. We know it's going to play smoothly. So we're pretty excited about it, and thanking Atlanta for doing just that. Although it is scary to put a digital file out into the world, we trust the folks here, protect it nice and good, and we're just excited to show it to the crowds here, to be honest.
The victims are those who are dead. I survived. I have to do something with my life.
I'm Michael Pertnoy, the co-director and producer of The Last Survivor, and you're watching The Film Fix.